Hi there, ground control. So, you are probably wondering why I'm out here and not, well, in there. Well, I floated out here just for a sec to turn some screws, and would you believe it? I find myself on the wrong side of this very secure, very shut door. And I can't reach the manual lever. But I thought maybe you can pull the lever remotely and forget all this happened, huh?
Hello everybody. This is the official playthrough of my 3D space game. It's a puzzle game that I probably made way too hard and impossible to solve. So if you played it and you couldn't solve it, this is for you.
You know, I'm not surprised if the lever doesn't work.
Oh, and it
Not
doesn't.
with our technology, am I right?
Yeah, it breaks right away. Alright, I feel like I'm going to be interrupting myself quite a lot during this game. Okay, anyway. This is the game. I spent a long time making it, and it's pretty complicated. I'll show you all about it. But I wanted to say, if you get inspired by this and you want to make your own game, go to my Patreon and I teach you exactly how I made this. Okay, let's go. So, what you need to do to begin with is, well, this is your interface to begin with, and the astronaut will say in just a moment that he remembers, oh, there's a guidebook, and that guidebook you find right here. You just press this button and it says, emergency, door won't open, and we have emergency rerouting power. Let's go with door won't open, right? So you shut yourself outside the space station.
Oh, I almost forgot.
Here we
In
go.
all the excitement, there's a manual, like a guidebook for emergencies. Now, I don't want to call this an emergency.
No.
But, well, there should be a text document somewhere on your dashboard.
And that's that. And if you have the... Oh, sorry, no
no.
rush.
Hang out.
Yeah, hang out. If you have the tips enabled right here, then he will also say that there's a kind of window. This is for people who aren't that experienced with Blender, right? So you might not know that there is a text window if you don't have much experience with that. So it says, number 1, power the lights above the door. Reroute power from the door's lever to the lights above the door. These lights above the door, so let's follow that cable. It goes around here to the back and to the fuse box. Remove that and we get a cable object that says GeoNodes. So let's open the GeoNodes window. By the way, when you open a new window, this is what you find, and that's a hint that in object mode, which this is, every interactable object is red. So that'll give you a hint as to what you can interact with and what you can't. But also, in this window, everything you can interact with glows orange. Go to the GeoNodes window. And here's the fuse box. Follow protocol for rerouting power. If you'll remember, that's here. Rerouting power. And it gives you a step-by-step instruction. Easy. Cut the bottommost wire. Control right-click drag. And that's with the Node Wrangler add-on enabled. Makes it very satisfying to cut the lines. Sorry, I had to reconnect those. Here comes the tip. 2, if the total number of... cut the bottommost wire. If the total number of blue wires and yellow wires combined... Oh, that's... Let's see. Blue and yellow. 1, 2, 3. Don't count the purple ones, guys. Those are purple, not blue. If that equals the number of green wires, which is 1, 2, 3, it does, then cut the topmost gray wire. Alright. 3, cut the third wire if it is yellow. Ah, tricky one. It's not. Follow the after following the previous instructions, if any wires still cross over each other, we have 2 here, then cut the one with the lowest serial number. Z9 or A1, guys. It's this one. After following the previous instructions, connect the topmost empty socket on the left to the bottommost empty socket on the right. F3 to F1. And, by the way, if you were paying attention, each one of these steps did light up a new light on this to tell you that you're going in the right direction. How kind is that? Now, the lights above the door are on. They're all red, but this is the progress bar for the game. When they all turn green, you win. So let's go back to the door won't open step checklist and see how to do that. If you want to make a game like this in Blender, then I have made a course that covers everything. Not just the technical aspects, but also the artistic ones. And I give you some ideas for puzzles that you could make. If you're interested in that, go to my Patreon. But now, back to the video. Here, thaw thrusters. If ice is formed on the rear thrusters, thaw it. Let's see here. Has it? Has ice formed on the rear thrusters, guys? Yes. Yes, it has. And the way to thaw it is right in here. Let's pull open the cover and reveal the laser gun. It's superheated, but it needs power, it says. Let's follow the cables down here into the nuclear reactor of the ship. It's being disabled because it's being suckled on by an alien. We'll remove him. His name, by the way, it says here, Stewart.
Wow. Space is big.
Yeah.
I sure am glad I'm not dying out here.
I'm sure you're not dying out here, man. Not in my hands. You're safe. Let's not make this too profane. Great. All right, it has power now. It says type password, and that's what you do right here. There are two ways to find that password. You probably found it by still having that GeoNodes window open and pressing this, and you'll see revealed right away that this comparison node is looking for password 123. But you can also find that inside the cabin. It's on a little note. But let's go ahead and type in password 123. It says ready to fire. It won't say that if the lid isn't all the way open. The light will turn red and it'll say open cover all the way. So you're gonna have to do that. Let's press fire. And now, moving this around, you ought to press R twice on the keyboard because that makes it a bit more intuitive to rotate this around. And you're supposed to realize that it does reflect off this mirror. And so how do I get this to the ice on the other side? Well, there is a movable mirror, and it's right here on this drone, which you can move by moving the camera. Let's position that so that it might reflect the laser where we want it, like so. Move the laser a bit, hold down shift to make it more specific, or sensitive, I should say. And then we'll just move this down and over until we melt the ice. This one took so long to code, you guys. You have no idea. But when it's done, you will see the rear thrusters turning on, and there's a light over the door turned green. Fantastic. Let's turn this on. It's noisy. Next step is call for help using the radio, which is obviously this receiver, which is not a transmitter if you know your technology, but who cares, really? It's obviously a radio. Send an SOS signal. Problem is, it's an alien, right? It's in alien language. And you do have a key to what letter corresponds to what letter, but it's offset and you don't know how to rotate this the right way. The hint is right here in the name of the space station. It's called the Zenith in both English and Alien. So we can see that, for example, T is diamond with a dot in it. So if we find diamond with a dot in it, and we rotate this around until T...
I get the feeling like you've left the stove on.
Too bad for you, dude. Now everything corresponds correctly. So we need an S, which is U, and we need an O, which is triangle. So let's type in U, triangle, and I'm just zooming out so you can see what happens when I do this right. U. It starts sending a signal, and the next light turns green. Great stuff. Next, ensure proper camera coverage. Move all 4 observer drones to their designated spots. That's these around the perimeter. You can see them clearly in the object view. These red guys. We want to move those to their correct spots. And you're allowed to enter the cameras. So let's just open a new 3D viewport and turn it to rendered view. Control 0 on the numpad, and you'll see a silhouette of a particular part of the ship. If we do N, view, camera to view, that's N on the keyboard to open this. Now it follows the view. We can just move around like we're used to, and that moves the drone around too. Let's put this in the spot that corresponds with the shape. That's very forgiving. That wasn't even close, Robin. Come on. Yeah, I've been too forgiving with this one. This light turns green when it's in the right spot. This light in the top corner of the camera. Let's do it with this as well. Let's see, we need the gun. Let's Alt-R, reset rotation on that gun. Press this, press R to rotate it. What I like to do here is I like to find the correct distance so that everything seems to match up. But obviously, at this point, it could rotate around like that, right? And it would look pretty similar, so we just shift right click on a spot that we know is correct, which is this on the tip of the gun. And we press period on the keyboard and press 3D cursor. Now we can rotate the camera around that point. Just press R and Y is the axis I want. And now we can move it up and down, keeping that point stationary in the view until the light turns green. All right, let's see. Did we do this one? We've done the blue one, we've done the red one, and this is the green one. Green one's the most complicated one. You can see the astronaut is here and the tip of the radio is here. So if we try to line those up like just roughly like this, we obviously need to move this a bit more to the left. So let's shift right click, place the cursor, and then rotate this around the Y axis to just get those wings roughly in the right spot. Let's see here. That turns the light green. And then we have to do the one with the solar panels. That's the easiest one. That's very simple. Let's just get it over here, and then we can even do median point on this, I think. No. Let's do it around the 3D cursor. R, Y, rotate it around, and there we go. That also does, it shows you which ones are in the correct place with these glowing.
You know what? I think I may have left my key inside.
Too bad, dude.
You don't need that, right?
No. You don't actually. If you wait long enough, a key will just come floating by the screen and stop right outside the door. But we haven't spent that long. I mean, I'm burning through this, and I'm at the final spot. Let's move this ball over. I like to use the ball. It's not part of any puzzle, but I like it's just a free object that you can move around and center your view on, so that it's easier to move around this guy and Stuart as well. But yeah, let's see if we can just go inside here, and because he said he left his key inside. And by the way, next step is insert key. Using a key that fits the lock, open the door. Here you also see the note that sets the password to the gun. And we have the key to the door. And once we, let's do median point again, so that I can move this more predictably. Once I put this into the lock, everything should open up, and I've completed the game. Great! Pause the timeline and brag about how quick you did it. Alright. The astronaut will lose his job for this one once he gets back to Earth, in about 12 years' time. Great, he gets what he deserves. You'll also see in the timeline, there's a point here that says impact. That's a story point, and if you want to know the story, you're gonna have to play through the whole game yourself. If you want to make a puzzle game inside Blender, this is the place to be. I'm going to teach you everything that I learned in the process of making my 3D space game. And that is stuff that I learned by trial and error, and not by Googling, because as far as I can tell, this stuff hasn't been done before. And so I wanted to share what I learned with everyone else. And so I've made 2 playlists that are unlisted on YouTube, but you have access to them through this Patreon. The first one is about the technical aspects of game creation inside Blender. So I take you through how I designed the very first interaction the player does in the game, which is that lever that you pull. And it introduces some very interesting challenges and teaches you kind of every single building block that you need in order to create a fully functioning game mechanic inside of Blender. So I show you how you can create player interactions with an object and how that object can sense that something has happened and trigger something else. The way it triggers something else is by communicating information between objects, which is very key in making a game. And then I go through how to disable and enable interactions with an object, because in this case, you pull the lever and it's disabled. You can't pull it back up. And it stores a permanent variable inside of Blender. So the player can make something happen, and then that information is stored for the rest of the game. Also very key. And then I go through how to make animations using geometry nodes. And that is very important because you cannot trigger an animation in the traditional sense when the player does something. So you have to do the animation with the geometry nodes because that can be triggered when the player does something. And then at the very end of the playlist, there's a long video where I recreate the laser puzzle. The laser puzzle is the flashiest one and it's the most difficult one, so I would recommend that you watch the whole playlist from start to finish. It ramps up in difficulty, and at the end I make that laser puzzle from scratch and you can see how that is done. The other playlist goes through the kind of game design aspect of it, so not the technical side, but more I start by discussing why you would even use Blender as a game engine to begin with when you have Unreal and Unity and all the rest. And it's an interesting discussion, actually. And then I go through the art style. So how do you model for a game that plays inside the Eevee viewport? And how do you optimize it? And how do you design stuff with player psychology in mind? Oh, camera died. What was I talking about? Like the design of the game, right? Designing with psychology in mind. And then after that, I go through puzzle design. So how do you design a puzzle? How do you come up with the idea for a puzzle? And how do you design every little interaction that leads to the final thing? And I even go through some ideas for puzzles that I didn't use. So this is untapped potential that you can use in your game. And that's everything from like different like logical ideas to different aspects of Blender that I didn't actually use. And I'm really excited about this part. And hey, if you have any questions, just leave them in the Patreon. You're paying for this, so I might as well try my best to help you out if you're struggling with anything.